The stability of the Fourth Republic depends heavily on your resolve to maintain the sanctity of your profession and your independence as the Fourth Estate. If I may say so, as we celebrate this landmark anniversary, let it be a call to all journalists to rise to the occasion, to uphold the values that have defined your noble profession, and to hopefully continue to be the beacon of hope and accountability our nation needs. Your association's inception came at a very pivotal time as Ghana stood on the verge of defining its future, breaking free from colonial domination. Your association, predating even our nation's independence, became the crucible within which the fervent hopes and aspirations of a people were nurtured and expressed. Even before the formation of your association, nationalists like J.B. Dankwa, Kwame Nkrumah, Kofi Bacha, Eric Heyman, Kofi Bakon, T.D. Bafo, Kofi Bedu, amongst others, stood at the vanguard of the struggle, wielding the might of the pen and the unwavering spirit of truth as they used their voices for advocacy. Dreams of a liberated and thriving Ghana were expressed through purposeful writing and careful dissemination on the pain of punishment. These were patriots, men who were inspired and motivated by the ideals of a free and prosperous nation. Mr. Chairman, today, as we traverse the sands of time and reminisce the jubilation of independence through the trials of military regimes, through the sometimes rancorous, other times harmonious ebb and flow of democracy, we find the essence of journalism tested and exalted. The courage, the sacrifice, the unwavering commitment of your members have not only chronicled our nation's history, but they have been instrumental in shaping its discourse. Insightful and courageous citizens like Cameron Dodu, P.A.V. Ansa, Kweku Bakon, Kwesi Pratt, Kwame Karikari, Kojo Yanka, Christine Agri, Elvis Aye, Sam Ade Clark, Cabral Blay Amihir, Elizabeth Ohene, Heronata, Kwame Amamo, Mike Egan, Vida Kranti Asante, Giftia Fenidaze, and many others have paved the way for many today. We observe a landscape altered by the winds of change. The once famous united front of objectivity and patriotism appears to some fragmented by the device of partisanship and the shadows of materialism. The noble quest for truth now competes with the allure of political patronage and its material rewards, a phenomenon which, if I may say so, threatens the sanctity of your independence, the Fourth Estate. Yet, this is the period when the vigilance of the Fourth Estate is most needed. As we stand on the precipice of yet another electoral milestone, which in my view is the most consequential, the ethos, the echoes of past violence, the whispers of disenfranchisement looms. And I don't think anyone needs reminding that the conduct of the electoral exercise, together with its outcome, is so important that the nation cannot afford bias and unprofessional coverage of it by members of your profession. I wish, Mr. Chairman, I could be more confident that the coverage will be professional, but I'm afraid I can't, given the rather unserious way in which another very important national issue, the most egregious abuse of the rights of millions whose livelihood has been decimated completely by galamsey operations, has been treated by your profession. I don't know whether you are exhausted and indeed frustrated by the shameful lack of decisive action from the authorities to your interventions. All I know is that your association's pen, which is your weapon, has gone eerily silent on this all-important matter. I would have liked to see a more concerted and sustained action from you. Sadly, that has not been the case. Galamsey doesn't make the headlines anymore. And yet the country is experiencing the ravages of this terrible phenomenon every day. The alarming increase in kidney and liver diseases, the increase in children born with deformities, and the alarming infant mortality rates in the areas affected by galamsey activities appear not to merit your sustained concern. What a shame. What a pity. As journalists, the times we live in beckon you to remember your purpose, your power, and your responsibility. Let me just say this. The price of your continued silence is too grave to fathom. Mr. Chairman, it is in this moment of reflection and anticipation that the immortal words of Ephraim Amos' composition, Yen Ara Assassini, resound with unparalleled relevance. The composition resonates today deeply. Its message of patriotism, stewardship, and unity echoes the ideals that all of us must champion.
Well, that is the Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast sharing his thoughts on the media and how the media must live above the board and also speak, be that voice of the people. Well, joining us for a conversation this morning, we have Roland Afeo Mone. He is former president of the GJA. Later, we'll also have Suleimana Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. And also in the studio, your very own Mary Poppins. She introduced herself this morning.
Her name has come
Sweetie.
to stay today.
Sweetie.
Mary Poppins, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
Just to go off the top right before Sweetie comes in, what was your reaction when Sam Jonah actually had all of this to share on the media and how crucial our role is as the fourth realm of the state in these times?
Let me first of all sprinkle stardust of commendation on the executive of the GJ and the planning committee for making the right choice as far as the speaker was concerned. Sam is an extraordinary nationalist, patriot. He doesn't dance to the tune of anybody. He analyzes issues as they are. He does not only analyze, he prefers solutions. And what we heard at that lecture was a root cause analysis of our situation and how we should rise above this situation to be the black star we are destined to be. So I listened with all-absorbing attention and all-consuming seriousness. Because before then, I've had discussion with Sam Jonah on how, on this issue and other issues. And he did assure me that you're going to make certain statements which will capture the attention of the whole nation and then ignite a conversation. I believe, and also I'm not surprised when Joy FM or Joy TV decided that we should look at what he said. So kudos to him. Ghana loves him, Ghana cherishes him, and we need more of Sam Jonas in this country to help address our situation and then get us to move forward in the right direction.
Right. I like to think that the media has been very critical in the progress of our democracy, even in our development as a country, from colonialism, pre-independence struggles, even during independence, and Nkrumah establishing all these newspapers, Ghana News Agency, and all that. And we are here today. I think as we grow, the role of the media is also expanding. So some of the things that he says, that it speaks to lack of confidence in our ability to deliver on the mandate as media, to propel democracy and ensure that come this election 2024, we will do well to ensure transparency and all the things that we have to do. My question is, what are the gaps? I know there are obviously some issues that have happened, like the electoral violence in Ayawaso, the issues of Saul, the death of some of the investigative journalists in this country. But what are the gaps that you think he's specifically speaking to that will impede the progress of the work of the media in this election year?
We need to cast our mind back to appreciate what the media did to help Ghana to gain independence.
Right.
You know, he mentioned J.B. Dankwa, Kwame Nkrumah, and others who use their penmanship to advance the cause of independence. And after independence, Kwame Nkrumah used the media, to build the geopolitical entity called Ghana.
Right.
GBC in particular, languages, languages. He popularized the use of Ghanaian languages on national radio and television. And even though there was not much dissenting voices in the media, but Kwame Nkrumah was so purposeful. He appreciated the power of the media. We are told that information and the structures which disseminate information are the most powerful weapon on earth. And to quote Malcolm X, journalism of the media are the most powerful entity on earth. Sometimes we abuse the power we wield and the influence we peddle to the extent that some journalists are rather the problem instead of being the solution to the problem. And so we thank Sam Jonah, and he did emphasize on truth, the need for journalists to stick to the truth. Journalism is not the perpetration of falsehood. Journalism is the dissemination of discernible and discernible facts. So my heart bleeds anytime sessions of the media peddle falsehood.
Right.
The motives they are too dirty to even think of. We have a section of the media of a certain class of journalists who have perfected acts of twisting issues and concocting falsehood.
Okay.
So again, this raises the issue of motives, the issue of why some people are in the media for wrong reasons. Journalism is a calling. And so we have a litany of people who have not been called, but yet they are practicing journalism. To the extent that we have sections of media which are doing well, and let me say with a high sense of pride that Joy of multimedia is a symbol of excellence in journalism.
Why,
but this
thank
is a sharp contrast with what is happening in sections of the media.
Right.
In certain sections of the media, what we see alarmingly is the generation of standards, to the extent that journalism in those sections have become a standardless profession.
Right.
If I may just chip in on that. You've mentioned two critical things. People getting in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
That is one.
Yeah.
And maybe someday I'll share my story about how I became a media practitioner, because I never even thought I would be here. I was going to use my languages, other studies for different things, work with other entities. It's interesting because the rationale behind being here, I agree. And there are people you get to know and you know they are compromised.
Yeah.
But they are in the business. What do? That is one. But the second thing, why are all these things? Because I say on any given day, there are certain newspapers, the print media, I can pick, same story, and I can guarantee that XYZ newspaper will take it from this political angle.
Yeah.
And ABC newspaper will take it from that political angle. Guaranteed. I don't have to look into any crystal ball. It is there. Those are there. And it boils down to the political class, media ownership, and the number of those involved, either directly involved, tangentially involved, or who are related to people walking the corridors of power. Now it's even spread to the broadcast media, TV and radio. Is that not where the real thrust of the problem is? Because in these entities, mind you, when they are recruiting you, some people even share with me, they are telling you, listen, That is one good thing I love about where I am. Because the day people start telling me to go this way or that way, back in the years when I was railing against Mahama, no one told me at my former entity, don't do this. Now that I'm railing against this administration and some wrongdoing, no one is telling me, oh, don't go here, don't go there. The CEO himself says, do what you get it. That is it. But in other places, that is not it. So these are some of the fundamental problems we really should be looking at.
Absolutely, yeah. And under autocratic regimes, and the greatest enemy of the media was officialdom, the government. We saw it under Rawlings, we saw it under military regimes. And in 1992, thank God, we had the opportunity to abandon the bullet course and embrace democracy as the civilized means of choosing our leaders. And since then, there have been progress in the media space. We have the latitude to criticize, to hold to account people in positions of authority, to peddle the dissenting views and all that. But this is not to say that we are not out of the woods. We still have some challenges. And I totally agree with Ben that the unrestrained invasion of the media space by politicians. We have a situation where almost every MP owns a radio station in this country. Political parties have their papers, and you don't need any superfluity of intelligence to conclude that this newspaper is aligned to this party, or this radio station is doing the bidding of a certain political party. So the greatest enemy now, unlike yesteryears when it was military regimes, dictators, now the greatest enemy of the media now is the ownership structure, ownership. You know, ownership confers power and authority on whoever owns a media system. And to the extent that owners are now dictating content, which should be the job of professionals. So, and then added to that, certain media houses, so that we confront them. Why would you abandon the foundational principles of journalism?
But isn't it the issue of money? The media is a profit-making entity. I mean, since the inception of 1992 Constitution, and we're talking about press freedom, but we know that they cannot run without money. Even our elections that are supposed to be free and fair, you vote for the people who you think you have some, you stand to gain something from them. So this ownership, again, it's because of money. Benjamin, how do you see where I'm going with this?
Well, you do have a point,
money is the
because
fundamental reason why they would choose to tell the story the way they can tell it, so that they massage the ego or whatever of the people that's putting money in their
You're
pockets.
right, but it's also an avenue to, whitewash bad money.
Yes.
That is also
Yes.
being done.
Yes.
And in so many other, it's something we often lose sight of. It is in there, but I don't know what you think on the question, and maybe you might add, do you think it is high time we got more transparency in media ownership?
Yeah.
Because you go to certain places, that one belongs to this person. And you see, and some you actually go into it and realize that indeed this person, and I feel money. It takes a lot of money
to run
to
this.
buy the sort of equipment
It takes a lot of money.
required. I mean, this video wall you're seeing, just one of the screens, costs huge sums of money. Someone's maybe 10-year, 20-year salary, just one of it.
More.
So when these people whom we have known come up with these entities, we ought to be asking, and that is why transparency is important. Who owns this, and how did you come by the resources to even put this up?
Fantastic question. The broadcasting bill, which has been incubating for decades now, attempt to resolve this issue of ownership. And in certain sections of the bill, it is proposed that no one individual can own more than 3 media systems.
Okay.
And guess what? The people who are kicking against this bill are media owners, the people who have a chain of media outlets, because they don't want their monopoly to be broken. They don't want their influence to diminish in any way. So here we are where we are because of the stiff opposition from these people who are benefiting from this decay in the media. So I think we need to rise up again, join forces to ensure that the media, proposed media broadcasting law comes into fruition to help sanitize the media system and ensure that journalists do justice to their professional method.
Right. Suleiman Ibrahima joins us via phone. Thank you for joining the program. I'm sure you've been following the conversation so far. What are your initial thoughts on this conversation?
So I don't know when you say conversation generally what you are referring to.
Right. We are talking about the speech from the Chancellor of University of Cape Coast, Sir Sam Jonah, on the role of media leading up to election 2024, the gaps, and how we can ensure that we are discharging our duties without, prejudice and biases. And so far, the issue of partisan ownership of media houses, the issue of money has come up. And so that's where we've reached at this point.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and good morning. I think that at this stage, conversations about media professionalism, media standards, and the issues of ownership, money, and so on, we need to look at it from a very holistic perspective. First of all, the individuals who are practicing as journalists are Ghanaians. And so whatever attitudes, whatever practices, whatever conduct that we are observing in Ghana as a totality would certainly be reflected in what is happening in the media. It's not as though the people who are practicing in the media are people brought from elsewhere. They are the same people in Ghana. And so I think we need to look at it from the general contextual issues in Ghana. And I would say that we are at a stage where in this country we have lost patriotism, we have lost, passion for the nation. People are no longer thinking about the future of this country, they are thinking about now. Everyone is interested in making money, and it's all about making money now, making money quick, and it's not about the values of patriotism and the values of let's preserve the future. The problems start from the top, the leadership of the country, from the presidency to the vice presidency to the people who are holding positions as ministers to directors generals, and so on and so forth, and it cascades all the way down. So I think what we've missed as a country is the fact that over the years, and maybe in the last 20 or so years, we have had leaders who basically come to power and are not interested in the future of this country. It's all about let's make money, and when we have money, we can win elections. And that is what has been happening. As a result, part of that would be let's establish media houses and use the media houses to perpetuate ourselves in power. The people who end up getting to work in these media houses, most of them are there, sometimes not having gone through journalism school or journalism training. It's all about politics. And it's actually not politics. It's about money making. It's about power and money making. And so for me, it's not about, yes, having the broadcasting law may help, but just like all other sectors, talk about corruption, talk about our judiciary, talk about, our parliament. Just as it's happening everywhere, it's not the laws, because on some of the issues, there are laws that could, if it were about laws, maybe corruption, the way we see it, and the scales at which we are seeing it, wouldn't have been the case. It's about the individuals we the citizens and the extent to which we are prepared to do the right thing, the extent to which leaders are committed to preserving the future of this country, the extent to which, those of us in the media are willing to say, look, yes, we all have to make money to survive, but it's about doing our work right. So for me, it's a general canker that is affecting everywhere, whether religion. Look at our religious leaders, whether in the Islamic sect or in the Christian sect, you have, people who are basically looking for money instead of doing the work of God. It's all about money making, building big churches, driving multiple cars, imams consulting for other people, and so on and so forth. So it's a general moral decadence that we have to talk about, rather than maybe singling out a particular profession or a particular entity and saying that, things are not going well. Things are not going well everywhere, whether it's our judiciary, whether it's our parliament, whether it's our executive, the media. Things are not going things are not going well, and it is as a result of the moral decadence where people are no longer ready to stand up for values, stand up for the truth, stand up and sacrifice and say, look, this is the right thing, regardless of the consequence, I'm going to pursue it. And people are no longer thinking about the future, they are thinking about themselves and what they make now. And I think that is the problem.
Suleimana, it's been a while. It's good to have you join the conversation. But that goes to the point. For example, the Fourth Estate in recent times has come out with that expose, the scholarships, bonanza, and everything in between. And you see the backlash from different quarters. Those are some of the difficulties when you are pilloried, lampooned, because you're trying to do your work. But that also goes back to the message of Sam Jonah when he asks that as the Fourth Estate, we must defend our democracy. Do you feel as well, because in doing our work, we must also look internally and criticize ourselves, do some introspection. Do you think we are doing enough of that introspection as a media? Where are we getting it wrong in fulfilling that national call?
Well, thank you, Ben, and great to reconnect with you again. I certainly agree that the media, I don't think that we are doing what is expected of journalism. When we say the media is supposed to be the watchdog of society, hold duty bearers accountable, hold the powerful accountable to the powerless, and so on, I don't think that we are. I mean, you can point to isolated cases or isolated media organizations, but if you are to generalize, you would say that we are not just doing even a quarter of what we should do. But the reason then is, or the question to ask is, why? And for me, the reasons are, as I have alluded to, we are part of the society. And so if the society is increasingly becoming corrupt, we certainly would also become corrupt. If the society is about, look, we've gotten to a point where standing up and doing the right thing in Ghana is almost becoming like a crime. I mean, you talked about the recent report by the Fourth Estate, and go online and see the kind of arguments that people are putting up. So weird, so bizarre, but they must do that in order to survive. They must do that and run to their paymasters and say, have you seen that I'm defending you, so that they can survive? Because it's almost like that's the only way to survive, as far as some people are concerned. I keep repeating of late that we all say, oh, look at what has happened in Senegal. That young guy, he's president, 44 years, and there are headlines about from prison to president. And I say, look, people are forgetting the sacrifice that this person had to make. People are forgetting the fact that by standing firm and standing upright in defense of certain principles, in defense of democracy and all of that, he had to go to prison. And he was prepared to do that. He knew what he was doing could take him to prison, but he was prepared to do that. So it's not about looking at, oh, he's now president, oh, this guy has done well. No, it is about the values that he stood up for. If you talk about Nelson Mandela, we all say, oh, Mandela was a giant in Africa, and so on. We no longer mention the fact that he was in prison for about 26 or 27 years. We have people here in Ghana when our democracy started who were doing the kinds of things, risking their lives, and knew that by challenging the PNDC, by challenging the Rawlings NDC, we are likely to go to prison. And they knew that this is right. We must do it. By our conscience, we cannot not do that as journalists. But today, Ben, it's anything goes. It's about, I want to also drive a 4x4. I want to also have this. I want to also have that. And right from the top, as I keep saying, I honestly believe, Ben, it's about the values of our society. If we have a leader who says that I'm going to reset this country by making sure that I am doing the right thing, and by so doing, I'm sure ministers will do the same, and by so doing, I'm sure other people will do. We would have a very massive transformation. But until that happens, if we're talking about, Chamawun to me has set up a radio station and a TV station, you expect him to use that to do the watchdog journalism that will hold MPP accountable. That is not happening. Or it's about, on the other side, Radio XYZ or Wezo TV or the other ones that are on the NDC side, and we expect that the people working there will have the freedom to hold the NDC accountable, especially when they are in power. That is not going to happen. And even the ones that we cannot directly link to, politicians, the people working there want to make ends meet. The owners want to make ends meet. If you criticize the government, and the government will come after you, the government will make sure that your advertising channels are being blocked. What can you do? We are in an era where, as a result of all this, people are just quick to say, oh, go to court, oh, go to court. And you ask yourself, why are people so eager to say that, go to court, go to court? Why? Is it the first time we are having the judiciary in Ghana? Why is it that over the last 8 years, the word, the catchphrase has become, oh, go to court? Why are some people so confident in what they will have in court? And it raises the question about, do people have confidence in the judiciary? Our parliament, we have had cases where we are battling in an economy that is not doing well, and our parliament is passing, tax exemptions, to the point where even a hotel, a 4-star hotel, was given a tax exemption under 1D, 1F. And we've been talking about it, and people are not angry. And people are not angry because everyone wants to survive. So, yes, we can blame the media and expect that, look, as journalists, do your work, as watchdog of society. So we cannot say that if they are not doing it, we shouldn't blame them. But we have to also look at it from a holistic perspective. It's just like the clergy and the imams. We expect them to do the work of God, and therefore, if they are not doing it, we have to take them on. But the reality is that we are creating a society where people must survive. And if people must survive, am I the only one who is going to make Ghana what it should be? That is what people are asking themselves.
Sulemana,
yes.
If we've lost confidence in individual journalists and some of these institutions, then what about the role of the National Media Commission? Have we lost confidence in them as well? Because they are the ones who are mandated to be, propelling this agenda of patriotism, ensuring that we are discharging our duties without, biases. So where does it stand, the National Media Commission? Have you lost faith in them completely?
Sometimes it's difficult for me to say what I should say about the National Media Commission, also because of my relationship with the Executive Secretary in particular. But otherwise, look, the National Media Commission has become perhaps the most useless institution in this country. And
did you just say that? The National Media Commission has become what? Perhaps the most useless institution.
I'm sorry to say, it's a difficult one to say because of my relationship with George, but it's not about George, it's about the institution, it's about the National Media Commission.
Is it about the commission and even how the politicians put people on and then who becomes sometimes board chair and all of that? Is that part of the problem?
That is part of the problem, but that is a problem only because the individuals on there are also part of, the whole societal decadence that I've talked about.
How do you
because
mean?
Why?
Like,
if you were put there as a representative of the president, you get on there and you are elected as chair. The Constitution makes it clear what you should do. The NMC Act makes it clear what you should do. You are not at the beck and call of the president. You are not supposed to please the president or the government of the day. But what do we have? We have a situation where the Ghana Journalists Association, in collaboration with all other media actors, decide to act against the abuses that we are witnessing on journalists. And you have the chairman of the National Media Commission come to attack the GJA for that action. And subsequently, what do we see? We see that the persons who are blacklisted go to the GJA almost like kneeling down to beg for forgiveness. And that you have the national chairman of the Media Commission saying things to the contrary. Meanwhile, that is the institution that is supposed to ensure the highest journalistic standards in the country. And that therefore includes protecting journalists. Look, the National Media Commission, I think we are where we are in terms of the media community and the decadence that we are witnessing in the media. Also because we've had a media commission that is not prepared to work. I mean, till date, the National Media Commission doesn't even have a website that would enable even students, GJA students, to go on there and say, oh, who are the commissioners? What are the functions? When was it established? What is the NMC Act? And so on and so forth. Why on earth would, up to today, the Media Commission wouldn't even have a website? Why? And ask yourself, over the course of the last 5 years or 6 years.
I'm looking at it now. They have a website, National Media Commission.
Oh, well, then maybe that is very, very
yes,
recent.
They do.
and then I'm sorry about that. It's very, very recent, and we are happy about that.
Okay.
Because the last time I did, they didn't have a website.
How long ago was this?
This must have been like maybe 6-7 months ago or so.
Okay.
You know, and I'm saying that, look, we have a media commission. Today, they even issue a statement, and people are ready to say, look, to hell with the National Media Commission. We don't care about it. You know, you have a media commission. When Manasseh did the militia in the heart of the city, the media commission sat down and said, "Oh, this was unethical, just so that they could give the government a briefing space." You ask yourself, what is the National Media Commission doing? It has to take the NCA to shut down radio stations in Boku. And I say, look, the NCA shouldn't get into that terrain where they say that a media organization, as a result of its content, should be shut down, because the NCA is an arm of the executive. And if you allow that to continue, a time may come, they say, oh, we don't like what Joy News is doing, or what Joy News is doing has implications for national security, and then we want to take it down. We shouldn't get there. It should be the work of the National Media Commission.
All right.
But we have a commission that is not working.
Interesting points, but Sweetie Abochi, we decided to check. He says about 6-7 months ago there was no website, and indeed it's been a while. But now, interestingly, they do have something. But what are your remarks on the website?
It needs work, but
it needs work.
It needs some work.
It needs a lot of work.
It looks like it was just they just dumped some information there to create something. I don't know.
Well, maybe it could be a starting point.
Yeah.
But let's bring in Afil Money on something else that I got. By the way, Suleimana Brahima, there are many people reacting. Abdul Rahman Mohammed says, brilliant submission. And this one came through. He has added his name so I can read it. Togbi Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu. I'm sure you know whom I'm speaking of. He says, Suleimana Brahima has hit the nail right on the head. Thank him on my behalf. So Suleimana, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu says you are doing great.
But I wanted him to react to some of the things that Suleimana said.
And I will let him do that in addition to this bit, because even as we talk about it, I always want to come back home. I feel part of the problem as well is this thinking that, oh, my face is on TV or my voice is on radio and this, so I am somebody. I think that is also that characterization. You see people come into this industry and after a little while, they've developed airs and they feel they are walking on air, right? That is why all the time when people, and we've seen some incidents that also reveal what people would do just to live a certain lifestyle. That is part of the problem we're dealing with. You don't have to live to anybody's expectations. I am who I am. When I get to a certain point and I can drive a certain car, I drive. Until then, I make do with what I have. I don't live above my means. And it's this trap of being a celebrity.
Yeah.
Too many media people are going around trying to act like so me, wherever I go, when they start, celebrity, I tell them, no, I'm not a celebrity. Because I am not. Who is a celebrity? I think that is a piece of the puzzle we are missing. People get in here and they think, once I'm on TV and there's, hey, I am this, and I must live up to certain expectations. That's part of the problem.
And I did state from the outset that some people are in the media for wrong reasons. Some have not been called, and this is a profession which is a calling. And so as a result, we experience all kinds of infractions, the standardless journalism and all that. Well, so we need to, and I'm happy Sam Jonah hit the nail right on the head. So what he did was not only to, and the address was not media-centric. The address also covered other sections of the society. Judiciary, corruption,
right.
A lack of accountability in protecting the public purse. And it was a holistic look at our situation as a nation. It can be likened to a State of the Nation address, but it's more objective than what we hear, which is littered with all kinds of propaganda. But this is objective analysis of the Ghanaian situation. So some says some as the media, but he urged the media to repurpose journalism. And Suleiman, I agree with him. You could hear the frustration, the lamentations in the presentation. Yes, to the sense of they describe Media Commission as perhaps the most useless institution in Ghana. Some will decide, but he's entitled to his opinion. So, in the face of this crisis, the media must rise above the fray. By virtue of what we do, we exercise oversight responsibility over all arms of government. We are supposed to be the conscience of the public. So if the media get it right, then we are inclined to believe that others, we can whip others in line so that we rediscover ourselves as a serious nation, as a beacon of democratic accomplishment in Africa, as a country which values freedom of the media, as a country which is also a beacon of rule of law, as a country which lives in peace with itself and peace with the rest of the world. This the media can do by repurposing journalism. How do we do it? By discovering what we are supposed to do, by going back to the drawing board, by doing introspection, serious introspection, which Ben alluded to. We need to look within ourselves. Where are we going wrong? How do we rectify our wrongs and regain the confidence and respect as the fourth estate of the realm? It is not for nothing that the media or journalism is described as the best profession in the world. According to Pulitzer, the best profession is not law. It's not politics. Even politics will give you unfettered access to cash legally. The best profession is not peaceful, even though it comes with intrinsic anointing. The best profession is journalism. So we need to live up to expectation as practitioners of the best profession in the world by holding to account people in positions of power, by doing the right thing. Because we cannot, we cannot exhibit disconnect between what we do and what we preach. We should preach professionalism. We should preach objectivity. We should act objectively. We should objectivize whatever we do. We should, as a media institution, responsible media institution, we should tell our stories. We should shape our programs. We should design our discussions to ensure that this nation rediscover itself and be on the trajectory of advancement in all dimensions.
And maybe as we cap off the conversation, there's an interesting bit as well I'd like to put to, and I'm sure Suleimana Brahma as well will have a reaction. But before that, Abdul Rahman Aaron Godo on the mainstream says, congratulations, Mr. Brahma. You've always been serious with what you do. This is traceable to our days in UCC when we were both residents of Valco Hall. And keep doing your best. Appreciation. That's the message in there. Solomon Nyantichi says, Suleimana Brahma is absolutely right. The NMC is, okay, I'll not go on to repeat that. And I can't believe it is headed by blah, blah, blah. Okay. So my final bit to you, though, when you think, if you move away from the financial influences and how people are poor, so sometimes a media person may be trying to make ends meet, so he's pandering or she is pandering. If you don't have that moral compass, it becomes difficult. Some of us don't care. And we've been bashed from both sides. We remain in the middle and we don't care when it's whose ox is gone. We'll say it as it is. But there's also this bit about fear. Fear. Look at our rankings when it comes to the, what do you even call them? The media, the indices and the rest. We've been falling over the years. Look at how many media houses, UTV, XYZ, even here at some point, you've had people rush in, beat people, do X, do Y, do Z. People may have a problem with, what's his name? The Tiger IPI gentleman. What's his name again? No. Is it the one who got killed?
Ahmed
Swale, the name, because of Ahmed Swale and everything. Yes, you may have your problems. But if you look at that trajectory, you also begin to understand why some people will see black and say it is white for fear of the consequences. And some of us get that fear. We get that fear. We have been pursued, sent messages, called. Obviously, if you can't stand by it, people will fall away. And that question is to both of you, Suleimana and Afil Moni. I'll start with you, Suleimana, and then we'll wind down on the conversation. Because with your investigations, I'm sure you get quite a bit of that as well.
Ben, I always say that on the African continent, given the governments we have and the governance that we have, if you are a journalist and the government is happy with you, then you are not doing journalism. because we have governments that really are not pursuing the interests of the people, and journalism is about the interests of the people. And therefore, at all times, you would be on the opposite side. And so if you are doing journalism and the government is happy with you and praises you and all of that, then maybe you are doing something else. That's the starting point. And therefore, if you want to do journalism, then you should tell yourself that, look, this is my calling. I am representing the interests of the people. If, as a result of my work, the government is okay, that's fine. If the government is not okay, well, that's my job to do. The threats and the fear that you are saying is real. We are all human beings. I get people sending me messages to say, hey, but you guys, are you not afraid? Do you have security in your house? Do you have bulletproof car? This kind of thing that you are doing and this kind of society that we are in now, I'm afraid for you. Well, I tell people, if that is what I have to do, that is what I must do. It's either I do that or I join the other side. Look, Ben, some of the people in politics today were my mates. I wouldn't say that they were smarter than me. There are some of them who got third class, second class lower. I graduated with first class. In my master's program, I was the overall best student. I think that I'm as smart as some of them who are there. Some of them have multiple houses, multiple cars, and so on and so forth. It is either you choose to be there or you choose to do what you want to do. Yeah. And if you choose not to be there, then do what you want to do and do it right. I mean, we just started the fourth estate just less than 3 years ago, or about 3 years ago. And, you know what has happened. This is just online. We don't have a radio. We don't have television station. It's all about doing the stories and doing it right. There are people out there who still love this country and would want to see people do the right thing. I commend multimedia all the time because throughout the turbulence, multimedia has stood up to the test. Whether MPP is in power or NDC is in power, multimedia is often accused of not supporting government or being against government. And for me, that is journalism. So the fear is real, But I tell people, look, if you want to do journalism, do it. Whatever the case, as President Akufo-Addo said, all die be die. You know, whether you do the right thing or you do the wrong thing, one day you will die. But stand up for your conscience. And always remember that you also want to be remembered one day for doing something right. But otherwise, I don't think that it is the richest people who die and they get all the, national and international acclaim. When Nelson Mandela died and the funeral was a global funeral, it wasn't because he was the richest man in the world. It was because he stood up for some principle. Muhammad Ali, it's not because he was, just the greatest boxer or the richest person. It is because he stood up for some principles. Kwame Nkrumah is still celebrated. You go to the AU headquarters at Addis and his statue is there. It's not because he was the richest Ghanaian who ever lived. It is because he stood up for some principles. So when I look at people, especially our leaders who
if I may briefly add, Busumuru Kofi Annan of blessed memory, I guess at some point the reflection was that he was worth $5 million or something of the sort. Nothing compared to the big business tycoons and the rest. But look at his reputation. When you mention his name, it's not in the money he had, it's in what he stood for.
Exactly. So for me, my encouragement, especially to the young ones, and that is why we have started this Next Generation Investigative Journalism Fellowship, to see if we can tap people young and groom them. And then, look, the Fourth Estate, the current staff that we have on the Fourth Estate or doing the Fourth Estate project, maybe 3 of them or so are people that you would say have more than 5 years journalism experience. The rest of them, maybe 2 years, came to do national service, came to do the fellowship, and we tap them in. It's about the orientation and the values that people stand for. Yeah. If they have it, they would be able to do the impactful thing. And I think that is why multimedia over the years, you've done the right things. The fear is real. The government doesn't want to budge. There are clandestine moves, sometimes stifling media organizations of their advertising revenues, sometimes calling editors to say, why did you put this up and why not that? To the extent of sometimes doing the weird things of even asking, why did you use this picture of the president instead of the other picture? This is the situation that we are in.
Right.
But I would encourage those who want to do journalism to know that they have power. But that power would only come up if they do their work and do it right. We've been to Kumasi in 2016 elections. We were in Kumasi with the chairman of the NMC.
We have to wrap because of time, but you conclude.
Yes, with the chairman of the NMC, then other members of the NMC, other media academics, we visited the radio station, talked to them about the infractions that we were monitoring and recording on their platform, and they said, yeah, we know all this that you are saying, but, we want our party to come to power, and so we'll continue to do what we are doing, which you think is unethical. And they just said it like that, and nobody could take them on. So that is the situation we are in. We have to just appeal to the moral conscience of people to do the right thing.
Thank you so much. So the fear is real, but we have power. How would you cap it up?
Journalism is not for the lily-livered and chicken-hearted. I made a point yesterday, and best repeating, that journalism is for courageous, brave people who have been called to practice the best profession in the world. That is journalism. So even though we need to always look at the back of our memory that journalism is not cash-rich, but risk-prone profession. So once...
You're using terms here again.
Like
not cash risk,
but risk-prone.
Yeah.
So once you are in it, know that by virtue of being on the side of rectitude,
right,
by being on the side of truth, by holding people to account for their misdeeds, they will come after you. Why urge journalists not to fall easy prey to attacks? We should be quoting cheap martyrdom, but we should be unafraid and unintimidated as long as we are on the side of truth.
So, in simple terms, let's be fearless, let's be independent,
credible,
let's be credible, the way Benjamin says it. But that's why I slightly disagree with Sir Sam Jonah, that he can't trust journalists, to be credible in covering the elections. We can trust some journalists. You can trust us.
I don't think he necessarily meant it as a blanket that every last one.
I'm just saying that there's still hope. There's still a few of us out there who are doing the work for God and country. So that is where we are wrapping up. But do you want to share any final thoughts here? So that's the end. We spoke to, in studio here with us, is Dr. Roland Afelmoni. He's a former GJA president.
And Roland is my colonial name.
So you just go by Afelmoni now. Okay, great. We also, Suleimana Brahima also joined us on phone. He's the Executive Director for Media Foundation for West Africa. And of course, the Benjamin Akapo.
Yes, a big Ben.
With us. But there's still more to come. The National Union of Ghana Students is working to ensure students have the best of conditions to study in. It's appalled by how long the teachers' strike has gone on for. It's also given its take on President Akufo-Addo's statements that the national service personnel are underutilized. That's the conversation coming up next with NUG's President, Chirema Opong Daniel. He's our guest later on in the show. Stick with us. We'll be right back.